For the last 50 odd years, AMG has been known for wedging whacking great engines in otherwise ordinary Mercedes models. And who wouldn't want a small, unassuming saloon car that sounds like a NASCAR racer? Yep, we all love AMGs for their straight line grunt and on-demand tyre shredding, but they've always been more hot rod than sports car. After the big, scary and admittedly wonderful SLS, the AMG GT came along with the aim of tipping the scale more towards balance and control than outright grunt. And it worked. It was good enough to tempt people out of 911 Carreras into something different. And then came the GTR to take on the mighty GT3 as a track-focused special. The GTR Pro and the new Black Series have stolen the limelight, but the Black Series starts from over 300 grand. You can get an original GTR for less than a third of that now. So when our friends at John Holland took one into stock, we thought it deserved revisiting. When it came out, the AMG GTR was the daddy of the AMG lineup. It has the 4-litre twin-turbo V8 you'll find in most AMGs these days, including the lesser GT models. In this though, it's tweaked up to 577 brake horsepower and 700 Newton meters of torque, all the way from 1900 RPM. So you can already get a feeling for what this is going to be like on a day like today. It'd be far from this on greasy tarmac on cold Cup 2 tyres, but 0-62 is officially 3.2 seconds. Top speed is what Clarkson would call, as near as makes no difference, 200 miles an hour. But before you start thinking this is just another wayward AMG hot rod, the GTR has a lot more finesse than you might think. The engine's mounted way behind the front wheel, so the weight distribution is actually towards the rear. It's not just balanced either, it's actually pretty trick too. It has adjustable dampers, rear wheel steering for better agility, and this really cool 9-stage traction control system that you tweak this little wheel to essentially tell the car how brave you're feeling today. Now before we get onto a stretch of road where I dare to prod it a little bit more, you've probably noticed by now this is finished in the green Hell Magno paintwork, which looks as awesome as it sounds, as it kind of should for 6 grand. And as a whole, the car's got everything you'd want. It's got the optional forged wheels, the carbon roof, these awesome sport bucket seats, the driving position's fantastic in them. And I think you can hear it, the switchable sports exhaust. Oh, the pops in race mode. And the noise is just always there. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. And just time and time again, AMG are the one company that get turbocharging absolutely spot on. And I don't know about you, but I think this sounds a million times better than the new Black Series. Yeah, the Cup 2s definitely need a bit of heat in them. You've got to be gentle with it today. But already, at sort of 30% throttle, listen to it. It's quite an intimidating thing just to sit in because the bonnet stretches that far away from you, it's so wide. You sat low, it's a brilliant seating position, like a race car. And of course you got all that grunt going to the rear wheels, so it is lively, very lively. But it is fun already when you're not going 10/10s. Unlike your more everyday, shall we say, AMG models like the C63, this has a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox, and it is awesome. That's all I can really say about that. It's a brilliant gearbox. The engine, I've already touched on how it sounds. The engine, as it is in most AMGs, it just takes over the whole experience. It is there all the time. The grunt is there all the time. It doesn't matter what rev range you're in. And there's so little lag, if any. Prod it. Oh my god. There it is, straight away. It feels every bit of nigh on 600 horsepower. But the cool thing is, well, if you can hear me over the fireworks, the cool thing is, whilst you've got to be careful with it on a day like today, that goes without saying, I have driven one of these in the dry and you can use it. You can use 600 brake because the engine isn't boosty as such. It's not all about the turbo. it's quite easy to modulate the throttle and use as much as you need. And whether you're using 20% or 100%, you've got that behind you. Carbon ceramic brakes, awesome. What did you expect? And it's nice that they have decent feel at any speed. You don't necessarily have to get them warmed up before they'll give you anything like old-fashioned ceramics. Four-wheel steering, it's hard to comment on because I haven't driven an AMG GT without it. But what I can tell you is it feels agile. It doesn't feel like a car with a massive long bonnet where you're sat over the rear wheels like the SLS. The SLS is an amazing car, but it is a big, sometimes cumbersome beast. This is much more composed, much more agile. And this is what I mean when I say it has a lot more finesse than you might think. You know, these are some challenging, undulating roads, and it is so planted. The only thing that makes it a hot rod is the sheer amount of power going to the rear. Now, all the praise I've been throwing at this car brings me back to why we wanted to drive it in the first place. It's so good, and it would have been 140 grand new, plus all the options on this car, which, as I mentioned, are pretty pricey. Now with under 9,000 miles on the clock, it's up at John Holland for under 100 grand. 95 grand to be specific, and it's so much car for the money.
I don't believe the AMG GTR gets the credit it deserves. Maybe everyone's attention's been diverted by the Pro or the Black Series, but this original GTR deserves your attention as much as the Green Hell paintwork will grab it. As I've said every time I've driven an AMG, the engine is a peach, and I think the angry snarl will be sorely missed in the flat-sounding Black Series. It has enough power to feel seriously quick, and it'll bite if your right foot gets a bit overexcited, but it's not so much that it's unusable. It feels surprisingly raw for what you could really call a GT car, but I think it'd still be perfect for a week tour in Europe. It feels much lighter on its feet than you'd expect for a car weighing over 1600 kilos. And whilst the steering doesn't give you a great deal back, and the sheer width of the thing's a little daunting on British roads, it's just such an event to drive. You'll hear people describe Lamborghinis as having theatre. Well, this is like a full-on heavy metal concert. It's a damn good value concert at the moment too, because at 95 grand, this is one of the best pound for pound supercars you can buy right now.